Alrighty, we are back. And we have Brennan on the right-hand side in the team of Brennan, Nathan, Basser, and Richard. On the left-hand side, we have Ben Tubman with Chia and James, Larson, Scott. Looks like a very explosive turn one from Ben here. We've got, I'm guessing, Ugin's Labyrinth into Grim Monolith into Khan Silex, which now means that Brennan cannot crack fetch lands. So assuming that this sticks, we should see quite a lot going on. No. Oh, okay, we don't have audio. Boy, howdy. Bye, Kara. Test. Is that coming through? Audio's back. Lovely. All right. Sorry about that. We had to charge a second microphone during the day. real winging it hours over here. So Brennan is cycling Lorien Revealed here. This is a way for him to get a land that gets around Khan's Silex. Looks like not too much follow-up on Ben's side. Just a Tron land, leaving the Grim Monolith tapped. I believe that's a Blade of the Blood Chief, which goes infinite with Brute Scale. Game score on screen this round. I'll try to get the game stores and match scores. At the moment, getting them on screen is a bit difficult, just because someone is carting the results back and forth to me. But in terms of letting you guys know what the game and match scores are, that's something we can do. But this is the semi-finals. We had a cut to top 4 today. So this is seed 2 and 3 doing battle at the moment. And seed 1 and 4, which is Torrin's team and Cooper's team, I believe, or Kieran's team. They're currently doing battle elsewhere with Maya watching them. Ben playing another Tron land and saying go. Not much going on at the moment. So Brennan attempting to assemble some kind of kill in the upcoming turns, but I mean, why did that reset? Oh, okay. Give me a sec, chat. Give me a sec. Okay. Well, that's nightmarish. This is a backup phone. It is not good. That's really unfortunate. Give me a sec, chat. Let me see if I can fix this. I think we'll just have to manually zoom in, unfortunately. Because I zoomed in on the recorder and it did not hold. Um. All right. I think I've lost my helper, so I'm gonna go physically fix the camera. Uh, I'll be right back. we're gonna make do. The phone that was recording cannot zoom in anymore. And the just um we'll make do. It's fine. It's fine. So at the very least, looks like we caught a bit of that match, which is good. So that's game 1 to Brennan. I believe table 1, which is Chia versus Nathan, is still going. And Richard appears to be playing against James, and I think he's up a game. All right. I think it's a bit scuffed, but it is what it is, and this should work. So while our players Ben and Brennan here are preparing for game 2, I'd like to remind everyone that today's event was run at Plenty of Games. It's a Teams Trios event, which is very, very rare, and it's super exciting to have. But more importantly, there is an event on here tomorrow as well. You can win a library, and it's a singles event, so you don't need to find any teammates if that doesn't suit your fancy. A huge shout out to all the staff at POG who have made today possible. A special note to Kira, who helped a lot with the equipment and the setup. Big shout out to the judges. Without them, these events aren't possible. So Jimbo and Maya, thank you very much. Alec Ferguson, who was on camera and did some interviews, big shout out to him as well. Great guy and really helped out a lot with running everything today. And let's get back into it. So it appears that players are shuffling up for game 2. We'll let them prepare in the background. If you're in chat and if you've been watching today's event, I understand that there's probably quite a lot of feedback to pass on. This event was kind of scrapped together, and I think we've done a really, really good job, in my opinion. Making this content is not easy, and it's not simple, and it's usually quite complicated to make sure that everything's running smoothly. I think the fact that we've had something on screen most of the time has been good. We've covered as much Magic as we can, and we will continue covering Magic until the end of the day. And we've had interviews with people, which I think is really cool. Most of the POG staff are, more than willing to get on camera and talk about how good the store is, because it is a great store. And talking to Maya was very enlightening. Obviously, seeing the judge side of things is quite vital when they're, such an integral part of our tournaments. So hopefully tomorrow goes a little bit cleaner. I understand that, while it might be a bit messy, some of you have stuck it out. So I massively appreciate the audience that we've had today. People dropping in, people talking, people asking questions. I'm really grateful that people are, willing to put effort in to experiencing things, even if they can't physically be here. I've got a lot of messages from people over the course of today asking how their friends are doing, how their teammates are doing. Because, we've got interstate travelers, but we don't have everyone who could feasibly be coming from interstate. So I think it's really cool that, these events bring people together. The next time that we'll probably all be in the same room will be CanCon. It's promising to be a pretty big event. After that will be Mana Clash and a couple of events during the year. I think the odds that I'm running commentary on in some events in the future. It's pretty high outside of Volti's Fight Nights. But if you enjoy watching live 7 Point Highlander, if you enjoy watching the format, I'll do a personal shout out. I run a tournament series called the Fight Night series. It runs pretty much every week, although sometimes there's fluctuations in the calendar depending on what I'm doing or what people are doing. But if you go into the 7 Point Highlander Discord and or if you check out my website, you can make sure that you can play those events. They're held on Magic Gathering Online, so if you want to play with a Black Lotus, you totally can. But otherwise, if you just want to soak in the format and watch some coverage, I'll be live on Twitch streaming some Highlander pretty much every week. Looks like the players are getting into it now. Looks like Brennan's taking a mulligan maybe, and Ben's keeping 7. Benaki, first time chatter. Thank you for that. It has been a decently difficult stream, but I think we've made the most of it. And I definitely think it could have been worse. So at the very least, I want you to all know that I tried really hard today. So Ben's starting us off with a Delighted Halfling. Not too many legendary creatures in the deck, but it's certainly not 0. Khan the Great Creator is something you can halfling out. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Couple of legendary Eldrazi, Ulamogs and Emrakuls, for example, but for the most part, a lot of them are unnamed and unlegendary, so Delighted Halfling's an interesting choice. It could just be that it's powerful enough. So Brennan firing off a Thoughtseize, sees Grim Monolith, Null Drifter, and I think Fleshraker maybe, and Ben has a Gaia's Cradle and a Eldrazi Temple as follow-up. Both very powerful lands here. Relatively close to unconditional accelerated mana. No life loss from Ancient Tomb, no land sequencing issues from City of Traders. I'm curious to see what Brennan takes here. Oh no, it's a Khan. Okay. Not a Glaring Fleshraker. Yeah, Khan's a pretty good one to take. Can't crack Lion's Eye Diamond. So Ben with a couple of options here. He can play Grim Monolith. He can then use the Grim Monolith if he wants, pending its resolution. Looks like the play is Monolith attack for 1, sure. Building up to a bigger play on a future turn. I think that's reasonable. Right now, Brennan has all of the momentum. Ben has access to a lot of mana, but his hand is quite awkward, and at the moment, he has no disruptive pieces. It is possible that he dies right here, and I think it's unlikely. It really depends on Brennan's hand and how he sideboarded. Typically with Lurrus Breach, the more you sideboard, the less potent your combo kills are, and the more pieces you have to put together. And that's just because post-board games tend to be far more disruptive from your opponent's side, and you do want to be interacting in meaningful ways from your own end. So I think the odds that Ben is just dead right now are very close to 0. But the fact that his follow-up turn appears to just be play a 4/4, draw some cards, means he could be dead the following turn. We know that Khan the Great Creator is not a live draw, because it's in the graveyard, and that is one of the more potent interactive pieces from the Eldrazi deck. So he might have to try and draw a cheap bit of graveyard interaction off the Null Drifter, which is possible. Oh, Christ. Apologies for anyone who is photosensitive. I don't know what that green flickering is. I believe that is the internet connection between the phone and the stream. Oh boy. So Brennan fetching for Tundra, Dragon's Rage Channeler, Swords to Plowshares, Undelighted Halfling. Killing the Halfling here means that the Cradle doesn't make mana as well as the mana that Ben's losing by losing the Halfling, so he may not be able to cast Null Drifter next turn. And I think if you're Brennan here, you're hoping that your opponent is stranded and unable to cast anything meaningful, because if that's the case, you get extra time to simply do whatever. Brennan trying to see a card with Urza's Bauble and it hits the Null Drifter. That's definitely the lowest impact die rolling we've had on stream. We've had a lot of die rolling to decide who goes first. We've had Comet on stream about 8 times. And I think die rolling to see what a card with Urza's Bauble is probably on the low end. What else is on the low end is Ben's turn 3, which is nothing. It's Forest Go. So Gaia's Cradle not making mana. He would have had enough to cast Null Drifter, though. Oh, I think it's a Gemstone Cavern. I don't think it's an Eldrazi Temple. I think it might be a Gemstone Cavern, in which case he had 6 mana. Okay, that makes sense. Brennan gets to untap with the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Bunch of cards in hand. Has access to 3 mana. And I believe I saw a Demonic Council get flashed from his hand, which is effectively Demonic Tutor. Ben saying hi and love you to the camera. Thanks, Ben. Brennan loves a yap sesh with the other pods. I mean, it's a teams event. If you're not talking with your teammates, if you don't like your teammates, what's the point, right? So presumably Brennan having quite a lot of banter, Ben probably just sullen and upset that he hasn't been able to do anything productive this game. He got his Khan Thoughtseize, he played a Grim Monolith, which he hasn't used, and he might be dead. Rip apart on Grim Monolith, Surveil Trigger. That is huge. That is a triple Stone Rain. Oh boy. Well, Ben has gone from a potential 7 mana to a potential 4 mana. And then drew a Mana Vault, which does get him back up to 5 if he casts it. I imagine he kind of has to. And still has Null Drifter, still has 1 unknown. And we'll get to untap with 6 mana at the minimum if Mana Vault lives. Rip Apart blowing up Grim Monolith does increase the chance of Mana Vault staying alive, but it's definitely not 0. But I think in this spot, it's more likely that Mana Vault lives and Ben dies than it is for Ben to live and Mana Vault to die. So we'll see what happens. I think it's very reasonable to assume that Ben is dead this turn. He does have an unknown, and it could be some bit of graveyard disruption. It could be something like a Beseiju for Breach. It could be a few different things, but I think more than likely it's some Eldrazi that is relatively uncastable, or at least has been. The fact that he played out Cradle means that it's not a land, because he would have probably played any other land. Brennan cracking him for 3, cracking a Bloodstained Mire, and probably gonna try and win this game. It definitely feels like it's been long enough. Making 4 land drops, having a graveyard untouched, having the stack untouched. It's pretty hard to lose from this spot with Breach. Like, at some point, you must have sculpted something. Demonic Council gonna bin Savines and almost certainly get Breach into hand. I don't know if we've seen Lion's Eye Diamond. If Brennan has LED and bin, this should be a kill through most bits of hate. I guess it could be like Kozilek's command, which could get there. Looks like he doesn't have it, and he's playing a Jace, I assume, and saying go. Big draw step for Ben. This time it's Eldrazi Temple, which means he can play Null Drifter. He gets to draw 2 cards, and one of them will have to interact with Brennan's kill. If he draws 2 cards, and they're both random Eldrazi that he can't cast, he's dead on the spot. Almost certainly. I mean, actually, certainly. The Breach will cast Demonic Council, which will get LED, and then it's over. Because LED will then cast the Demonic Council, which will cast Brain Freeze. What does he have? Is that a Devourer? Is that what that is? Oh, it's a World Breaker. Okay. World Breaker, target a land. Will not be good enough. I don't know if I agree with this line. Targeting a land doesn't do much here. It does stop Demonic Council out of the graveyard, so it might buy you a turn. But I think you're meant to gamble on Null Drifter and hope to draw, Tormod's Crypt or Grafdigger's Cage or something. I'm not sold on this. Although I guess in that spot, I mean, it's possible World Breaker actually buys you the turn that you need. It's also very possible that your Null Drifter just bricks. So I think tagging land is very fine here. It's just a matter of if it's better on average. Notably, Worldbreaker has reach, so Dragon's Rage Channeler is going to crash into it in combat and die. Unless Brennan takes several 100 game actions in his first main phase in order to keep the Dragon's Rage Channeler, so he can use the Surveils to fuel the breach that's in his hand. Ben's hand is face up, which means we're going to Demonic Council. Sorry, we're going to Breach, we're going to Demonic Council, we're going to get LED, and then we're going to LED again, Demonic Council again, Brain Freeze? It should be lethal. Ben putting out a neat little F6 button. I think we all knew that was the case, considering his hand was face up and did not have an instant speed card. So Brendan going to take game actions here, and realistically, I can't imagine he can brick because he has the Council in graveyard. The only thing that could be an issue is casting Council multiple times, using the escape from Breach and running out of Delirium, or running out of the ability to Delirium. I think that's the lose condition, practically speaking. But I think more than likely this gets there. Because Council can get LED. The first LED doesn't cost you any cards as well, which is a pretty big deal. But this is definitely going to be a kill. Brennan has done this 1,000 times, and I think the odds that he messes up from here are pretty low. I'm going to let this play out, and I'm going to mute my mic and go and check out what the match results are. So I will be right back. And we're back. So the match at the bottom here, Ben has decided to concede, not make Brennan play it out so that we can cover the middle match, which is now the tiebreaker. This is Richard versus James, and I believe it is. I believe it's Storm versus Breach. Is that right? We don't have a result for the other top 4 match either. They're still playing it out. But this is now a tiebreak. So Ben lost his match, Chia won his match, and these players, James on the left and Richard on the right, 1-1 going into game 3. Or rather, this is game 3. So it's about as tense as it can be. Richard has played a Lotus. It's stuck and resolved. And James has played Arid Mesa and passed. So getting the Lotus into play under counter magic, pretty big deal here. And I think if it was going to blow up, it would have blown up by now. So presumably James either has a 2-mana way to interact with an artifact or nothing. and is probably holding up some kind of counter spell and hoping this gets through. Richard here on the right, deep in the tank, trying to work out possibly a kill, or maybe taking a turn off to play a discard spell or some cantrips. It's about as tense as it can get. Lotus in play says go. I think it's incredibly likely that Richard is either waiting for a discard spell to clear the way, or waiting for a critical mass of mana in order to win the game. I've lost to all these people. Do we know what Chia and their opponent? Yeah. Chia was on Grixis, and Nathan Basser, Chia's opponent, was on a blue-red Welder deck. Or a Jeskai Welder deck. It had a bit of white. So James, end turn Surveil, untap Brainstorm. Brainstorm's a big deal here. He gets a lot of looks, and I assume he's trying to find free counter magic. Richard on the right is playing a pretty traditional Storm deck. And is presumably trying to set up either a kill, or a kill with disruption, or a kill with information. But having 2 lands and a Lotus, I mean, he definitely doesn't need much more to win the game. James on the left finds a fetch land, so not Brainstorm locked. Oh wait, is James on Grixis? Thought Che was on Grixis. I've been fed misinformation all day, I'll be honest. And has put a discard spell on the stack. I think it's an Inquisition. Might be Oracle. I think James has a companion though, right? Oh, it is Breach. Okay. I thought it was Breach. I thought that was a Lurrus. I was trying to tell. I just didn't know that Breach was on Thundering Falls. That was new tech to me. The Thundering Falls made me actually question it, oddly enough. Okay, so it's Breach versus Storm. Both players have access to things like Black Lotus and LED in terms of mana generation. Breach has Underworld Breach, and Storm has Yorgwill. This format sometimes is just nonsense, and I love that. No. Breach doesn't have actual Lotus, but they do have LED and Underworld Breach, so they can generate a lot of mana, is more what I was getting at. Both players theoretically able to win the game off 2 or 3 lands. Unlike quite a lot of what we've seen today, which have been, mid-range decks. So, looks like Richard got Inquisitioned, had a card taken out. I think it was a Ponder? No, it was a Pact of Negation. Okay. And now he's trying to work out if he can jam without the Pact. This is pretty scary. I think, there's some percentage where James is posturing. There is some percentage where he has it. There's some percentage where he has all of it. And Richard is currently trying to work out what is going on. The discard spell took a Pact, and, This is intense. If you go for it and you're wrong, you can lose the game. If you don't go for it and you're wrong, you can lose the game. Because it's entirely possible that this is the turn Richard needs to go for it, because if he doesn't, James is going to untap and win the game. Looks like... What's happening here? D-Day? I think he put a Doomsday on the stack. Or is it a Beseech? It could be a Beseech. LED. This is pretty intense. So Richard is going to try to work out if he can kill. I don't know if James is functionally F6'd. It's possible that he has exactly one bit of interaction, and he has to work out the right spot to use that interaction. But in this kind of matchup, I think as soon as Richard puts something on the stack that matters, he's going for it. It was definitely a Doomsday. Yeah, that's it. James was in fact posturing by the looks of it. So that means Richard wins that match, which does give the team on the right the match win overall. So Richard, Nathan, Bassett, and Brennan are going to be advancing to the finals. Well played to all of them. Commiserations to Ben, James, and Chia. Very solid, very respectable top 4 finish. I'll let the players pack up in the background. I'm going to go check and see if the other top 4 match is finished. But otherwise, we'll see if we can grab some people for an interview, and we'll be right back. Hi everyone, Volty here. Today's video was brought to you with the lovely help of my patrons and donors, who you can see up here on screen. If you would like to financially support the content, there's links down below, and you can make sure that if you're able to and you want to help support the channel, that you can do so. You'll also get your name visible up here on screen as well, which is very cool. If you are watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps out the channel a ton. And if you're watching this on Twitch, please consider clicking that follow button as well. The bell will let you be notified of when streams are going live, but otherwise that's it from me. I'll catch you all next time.